The lone vote cast not in favor of Clark went to Angel Reese. The vote kept Clark from becoming the WNBA's 5th ever unanimous rookie.
This is why we would love for the WNBA to make voting not anonymous. Because if you were the person that had that one vote, you should just be able to stand on it, and we should know who you are. In the NBA, voting is not anonymous. Yeah. So I would love for the WNBA to make the voting so we see who put the votes where.
It is now officially alleged that Alyssa Thomas tampered with the one vote that separated Caitlin Clark from winning the 5th consecutive unanimous Rookie of the Year in WNBA history. How low will you really go? Alyssa couldn't help but stir up more controversy after all the uproar and commotion around racism and unfair treatment. Everyone is staring at that one absurd vote, wondering how someone could ever vote in such a way. What this actually is, we all know, it is an attempt to harm Caitlin Clark. Due to the extreme racism of her fan base, Caitlin Clark is the inappropriate face for this league. And believe me when I say that she would be aware of how ridiculous this is if she still possessed any common sense at all. I mean, Alyssa just had to put one more layer of hypocrisy on top of the stuff Caitlin Clark has had to deal with in her first season. It is incredibly unjust. It's a belittling of each and every fan who anticipated a modicum of decency toward brilliance. Let me ask you, though, who might it be? Who is the lone voter who, for whatever reason, didn't think Caitlin Clark deserved all 67 Rookie of the Year votes? The winner of Rookie of the Year is Caitlin Clark. All the votes were cast for Caitlin Clark, with one going to Angel Reese. To look at that, you would have to be seriously biased or live under a rock. But no, there had to be that one weirdo who simply had to defy expectations. Not only is Alyssa Thomas voting unquestionably, but she also has a history of using the racial card to support her narrative. She is the one and only. She is at the top of the list if anyone in the WNBA is accused of corruption. For this reason, we would really hope that the WNBA allowed non-anonymous voting, since you should be able to stand on that one vote, and we should be able to identify you if you were the one who had it. Voting in the NBA is not done in secret. Therefore, I would like it if the WNBA conducted voting so we could know who cast the most votes. If it weren't so absurd, it would almost be humorous. Veteran of the league, Alyssa Thomas had the gall to vote for Angel Reese over Clark with her one and only vote. Why would she do that now? Could it be that Reese is the same player who has been accusing others of racism each time someone has dared to recognize Clark's ability? It seems a little too easy, don't you think? Oh, and Reese said herself that the only reason Clark's admirers like her is that she's white. And yet here we are with so-called professional Alyssa Thomas opting to support that narrative with her vote. To me, it appears to be more of a biased evaluation of talent based on race. Second, it's obvious that you voted for Angel Reese if you did so. I would assume you are aware of the potential response. Would you publish your name? Yes. Not that I believe they have. I'm examining. Yes. What is the true story here, Alyssa? Is it resentment? You chose to support Reese as a sort of protest vote because you couldn't bear to see Rookie Clark take center stage. I mean, your behavior bespeaks insecurity for someone who is always preaching about justice and integrity. She's just smashed records set by inexperienced players. When she was 10 years into her playing career, veterans in this league set records that she broke, records that Caitlin Clark shattered. I thought Caitlin's solo performances were outstanding. Clark wasn't merely ignored by you. You disregarded every supporter who has been watching her smash records left and right, as well as the entire league. Have the courage to own up to your bias rather than trying to pass it off as some sort of moral superiority. It doesn't concern me. I doubt Caitlin Clark will give a damn. It's true, Alyssa, you weren't acting impartially, you were acting resentfully, and now you're facing the full brunt of this situation. You were unable to put aside your prejudices, raising doubts about the integrity of the league. Furthermore, what do you know? It is pitiful. At the very least, give yourself a good rationale if you were going to back Reese. Oh no, that one isn't there. Clark has captivated the league and Reese hasn't been putting up the same numbers or making the same kind of impact. Race or allegiance are not relevant here. It's all about numbers, facts, and skill. And Clark possesses all three abundantly. Do we go, okay, but she wasn't the undisputed Rookie of the Year in 10 years. We won't be bothered, in my opinion. That, in my opinion, will be the least notable honor she receives that we discuss. And Alyssa, how about your past performance? Let's not act as though you've always been a paragon of virtue. When it comes to confronting alleged slights and injustices, you've been outspoken and confident, frequently speaking up for yourself. How However, things have now changed, and you find yourself appearing dubious. People are muttering, wondering if you're really an objective player as you say you are, or if you're simply another story-bending manipulator. You have tarried your own reputation in the mud. And for what purpose? To express an opinion that is even unpopular with others. Caitlin Clark is the most significant player in the league and ought to be in the top 5. It ought to have been among the top 3 MVP contenders, if not. However, I'm speaking of worth in general. On that, we can all have different opinions. Her worth on the field, in the arena, in the league, in every situation. There was no statement made by your vote. It gave you a whiny, insecure appearance. You took the easy route rather than supporting a teammate or abiding by your moral convictions. You made the entire voting process seem questionable. And now both players and fans are questioning the legitimacy of the league's awards. This is not a small bump in the road. A scandal has occurred. Alyssa, guess what? Right in the middle of it is you. Now, what are the consequences? The demand for voting process transparency made by analysts like Andrea Carter is really simply a nice way of saying, Alyssa, what the hell were you thinking? You've started a discussion that is entirely focused on racial bias and corruption rather than talent. This transcends Clark and Reese. It's about whether or not we can rely on gamers like you to make just choices. Angel Reese received the majority of the lengthy vote against Clark. Clark was prevented from becoming the 5th unanimous rookie in WNBA history by the vote. And for good reason, people are misinterpreting her motivations. It does not matter who is deserving. It's about Alyssa attempting to further her own worn-out goals. Even worse, this entire fiasco has observers and supporters questioning whether more than just a vote is at stake. Is this something personal? In those kinds of scenarios, you would believe it's definitely personal, don't you? Because let's be honest, Alyssa Thomas has made a statement. No, she was very outspoken about her opinions on racial equity in the league. The same player has leveled accusations at will whenever it fits her. Her vote now appears to be merely another chapter in her narrative of self-loathing. However, Alyssa, this isn't the place for you to air your grievances. We're talking about the Rookie of the Year award here. So it's meant to honor skill, diligence, and outright dominance on the court. To be honest, it's impossible to look at Clark's stats and witness her breaking record after record and not conclude that Angel Reese is the one who deserves it more. Unless, of course, you want to settle a little dispute. She was the most blitzed player in the WNBA during her debut season. She broke the record for assists, as you mentioned, with 19-5 and 8 assists. It should have been universally accepted that a rookie could do that well under such intense defensive duress. But should have been. As soon as this news surfaced, the internet nearly went crazy. Everyone was speculating on social media and offering theories left and right. Rivalry, jealousy, you name it. Some claim it's because they fear Clark's ascent will eclipse her. And isn't it a familiar sound? Thomas is out here playing politics with the votes like it's some kind of high school popularity contest rather than encouraging the next generation of gamers. This year's most valuable and significant player in the WNBA is Caitlin Clark, and ought to have won Rookie of the Year without a doubt. The world won't end because of it. Andrea Carter was forced to intervene and demand greater transparency in the voting procedure. She said it almost exactly. There is a big problem if players are unable to distinguish between their own opinions and professional evaluations. Alyssa, you're giving the league a ridiculous appearance, and now instead of praising Clark's incredible season, people are stuck discussing whether or not the voting process was rigged. You erred in more than one vote. You cast doubt on the legitimacy of the system as a whole. And I simply hope that the individual who cast the Rookie of the Year vote for Angel Reese may have seen that Angel Reese had an incredible season 1 that was historic in and of itself. There are instances when you simply face off against someone who is unquestionably the greatest rookie in your class. And what is Caitlin Clark's current situation? With an award for Rookie of the Year soiled by this foolishness, she should be enjoying her fantastic season, but instead she has this shadow overshadowing it. Thanks to Alyssa Thomas and her insistence on being the odd one out. Thus, Alyssa, congratulations. What ought to have been a celebration of the league's most promising rookie player became a controversy that nobody needed or wanted because of the way you handled it. While the integrity of the game was undoubtedly not worth it, I hope the attention was. Following the Rookie of the Year voting, there have been some really bizarre replies. All members of the WNBA community, including players, commentators, fans, and others, have been quite upset over Alyssa Thomas's decision to support Angel Reese. People all across the world, out of all people, have been asking whether or not this vote was legitimate on social media. This is more than a single vote. It's about casting doubt on the voting process as a whole. And now all eyes are staring at the league as if this is how you guys do business. Because of players calling Caitlin Clark various derogatory racial epithets, she was forced to travel to the NBA, the most being a white girl. That's the players after all. The one moron is sitting up there now. Furthermore, what do you know? There is no quick fix for this situation. Players will now question whether they're even being evaluated honestly, which will have a significant negative impact on team dynamics. How can they be sure that someone's selfish agenda won't disregard or distort all of their blood, sweat, and tears? Worse yet, the WNBA has said absolutely nothing. No declarations, no explanations. Everyone is left in a state of perplexity. It's a complete PR catastrophe. How about Alyssa Thomas? Her reputation is currently on life support. Accusations of racial bias and corruption are already being made. And there are some serious claims, let's face it. What this actually is, we all know, it is an attempt to harm Caitlin Clark. Due to the extreme racism of her fan base, Caitlin Clark is the inappropriate face for this league. She might find herself stuck to this vote like glue. Who knows how long it will continue to hound her professional life. The legitimacy of these honors will be severely damaged if the league does not take action to correct this problem, and it will be difficult to persuade players and fans that the awards are not rigged. If this was an attempt on your part to make a statement, you've managed to demonstrate that perhaps the true issue here is you. You are the one who is favoritism. And believe me, it's visible to all.